Copyright 2016 Dell Suite. Bear. Bear. Cammy from 100 yards down. The panic and fear in her voice made my heart leap into my throat, and because of her fear, and probably some of my own, I did a really stupid thing right then that cost me time. I was so panicked that I threw my rifle down and sprinted toward the sound of her voice. I got maybe 20 feet when the realization of what I had done hit me. It would have been comical to see the way I locked my legs up and tried to turn around before I had even come to a stop, if it had not been so goddamn serious. I had the rifle back in my hands, the safety off, just a fraction of a second later, when Cammy and Madison opened up on the UN dead, closing in on them from the mouth of the narrow trail that lead up from the river. I added my fire to theirs before I had run another 50 feet, and their leader, a shambling wreck of a corpse, folded up, and then flopped over the side of the trail and down into the river. I continued to run as I fired, and I was shocked to realize that I was screaming at the top of my lungs as I closed in. I am big, but I can move when I have to. Goddamn son of a bitching goddamn bastards, dead fuckers. All strung together. Fear words. I did not hear them at first, so I did not know when they started, and I could not shut them down once I did hear them. The panic and fear were just too hot. I watched as, unseen by Cammy and Madison, a zombie crouched on a narrow path above them swiveled his rotting head to me, seemed to take my measure with a wide yellowed grin, and then dropped from the ledge onto Madison's back. No. Goddamn son of a bitches, dead bastards, bastards. I could not say, Madison, look out. Or speed up my feet, or any other damn thing. Time had slowed, become elastic, strange, too clearly seen. The zombie hit her hard, and she folded like an accordion, driven into the ground, a few 100 pounds of animated corpse riding her down into the dirt, clawed hands clutching, mouth already angling to bite, to taste her. I was still 30 or more yards away. I could not see how that could even be possible. I should have been closer, but I was not. I saw Cammy turn, panicked, take her eyes off the other UN dead, and start towards Madison. Unchallenged, the other zombies closed ground far faster than they should have been able to. I saw the zombie on Madison take a mouthful of her back, just below the curve of her neck, and rip the flesh away from her spine. Cammy's rifle came up and barked, and the zombie blew apart, raining down on Madison, a storm of black blood. Somehow, I managed to switch to full auto, get my rifle up, and spray an entire 100-round clip into the other zombies, where they rushed along the path towards Cammy and the fallen Madison. Madison screamed. Time leapt back into its proper frame, and I found myself 5 feet away as Madison arched her back, screamed, and tried to stand. Blood ran in a perfect river from her gaping wound, across the white of her t-shirt and down to the waist of her jeans. I think. Madison tried. Baby? Baby, Cammy sobbed. She dropped to her knees and pulled Madison to her. Oh baby. Baby, Cammy sobbed. I looked back up at the trail. Empty. At least of moving UN dead. 3 or 4, it was hard to tell with the tangle of legs and arms, lay dead on the pathway. Silence descended. I heard a bird in the trees above, calling as if nothing was wrong with the world, Cammy sobbing, Madison crying hysterically, the wind moaning through the empty buildings that were set just back from the cliffs and the river on this side of the city. I was thinking, that wind is colder. Colder even than when we started out this morning. Maybe the weather will turn back to snow and cold. Maybe winter is not done after all. Or coming sooner. It could be. It's all so screwed up. Maybe if it does get cold, it will slow those bastards down. Maybe we will be okay. My God. They bit Madison. They bit Madison. I sagged to the ground, my mind full of confusion and numbness. Cammy was sobbing uncontrollably. Madison had lapsed into shock. I was sitting cross-legged, wondering where in hell this would all end up, my rifle fallen from my hands and laying on the ground next to me. Time spun out, dragged, seemed elastic once more, sticking in places and jumping ahead from those places to where it should have been had it continued to run properly. Cammy sobbing, holding Madison up, kissing her forehead, telling her how much she loved her, how she was her world. Madison, eyes rolled back in her head, face pale, fine beads of sweat standing out on her forehead, her back a bright slick of red running across Cammie's hands where she held her. Slowing. Slowing. Cammie mouthing words in such slow motion that I could not understand what she said. Madison's body sagging, eyes rolled up to the whites, bright dots of blood speckled across Cammie's cheeks. Then time jumped, staggered, came back to normal, and Cammie was screaming and screaming. No. No. Not my love, my Madison, my... Collapsing to the ground with Madison, crying still, softer but continuous. Cammie, my voice, but I did not know it at first. I actually stopped speaking and looked around, startled, before I realized it was me speaking. I turned my attention back to Cammie. Cammie? Cammie, it'll be okay. It'll be. No. No. She scrambled backward, pulling Madison's unconscious body with her. She wiped one hand across her eyes, trying to stem the flow of tears. No. She's okay. Okay. You can't. You. She broke down into sobs, pulled Madison to her, and began dragging her away from me. Cammie? Cammie, it bit her. Bit her. Cammie? Cammie, it's just you and me, Cammie. It bit her. It bit her. She let go of Madison and lunged for her rifle. I sat still cross-legged stupidly as she grabbed it and leveled it at me. Get out, she said very calmly. Much more calmly than I thought she should have been capable of. Cammie? What are you doing? Cammie? Get out, get out, get out. She screamed. I reared back as the rifle barrel came up and then slashed down across my face. I jumped back, but not fast enough. The steel barrel smashed into my lower lip, through it, and then hit my teeth. I immediately tasted blood and machine oil. My tongue ran across my teeth unconsciously. I was sure she had smashed them out, but the barrel edge had come up short, or I had moved back far enough. One of those things. The pain was delayed, but it came nevertheless. Hard, heavy, fast, down into my lower jaw, and then ricocheted back up into the top of my head. I scrambled backwards, tripped over my own rifle, got it into my hands, and then time did that funny slowing elastic thing again. The blood dripped from my chin onto the ground. My rifle was pointed squarely at Cammie, safety off and an empty clip, but Cammie didn't know that. The blood dripped slowly. Cammie's eyes swam in and out of focus, but remained on me. Her rifle barrel dipped and then rose again, leveled on me once more. She seemed to take a deep breath that went on forever, and then once more time sped up. I'll kill you, Cammie told me. If you touch her, I'll kill you. I will, she started out strong but ended in a doubtful, whining whisper. I didn't drop my rifle barrel, but held one hand out in front of me in a placating gesture. Not touching anyone. Not, I managed through my busted lip and aching jaw. The pain was a live, throbbing thing. You will. But? I know you will. You think. You think. She seemed all at once to realize that she no longer held Madison in her arms. She took a deep, shuddering breath and then dropped her rifle to the ground. She collapsed back down to the ground and crawled to Madison's body. I stood shocked, not knowing what to do. Time side-slipped again. The bird went back to calling out, if it had ever stopped. The wind came back, blowing cold against my face, pushing the flush of heat that the situation had brought with it away, cooling the sweat on my brow. The bird called. Another picked it up, and soon all the birds were talking as though nothing at all had happened. It became a perfect storm of noise after the deepness of the silence. Time slipped away again, clouds moving across the cold blue of the sky. Cammie sat. Madison pulled up into her lap, a large smear of maroon on her forehead, stroking Madison's black hair. The birds called. The coldness of the wind seemed to bite at my bones. Nipping. Tasting. An undead thing of its own. I can't tell you why I did it, but I am glad I did. I pushed the button on the rifle butt, dropped the empty clip into my waiting palm, and slid another up into the rifle, where it socketed itself home with a solid click. I did it perfectly, like I had been doing it all of my life instead of just the last few months, since the UN dead disease, epidemic, disorder, plague, whatever the fuck it is, has happened. She never looked up. The birds didn't stop singing their birdsong. Just in case, I told myself. Just in case. I stood, my knees screaming, flexed experimentally, and then walked a short distance away, leaning up against the cliff face. I reached into my jacket pocket, pulled out my pouch, and rolled a cigarette. I felt at my lips, busted up, but it would heal. I had been in fights in my old life where I had been busted up much worse. I lit the cigarette, held it carefully between my lips, smoking as I watched the clouds slip across the sky, letting the urgency of the situation float away on the wind like the smoke. Cammie's voice had fallen to a barely audible whisper as she stroked Madison's hair and held her. Madison's lips, blue-tinged, moved, too quiet to hear her words. A private conversation. A private conversation in the wide open, which, thanks to the UN dead, was a very private place. No one at all around, alive anyway, and the dead couldn't care less about love, secrets, whispered promises, goodbyes. The UN dead only cared about the hunger that seemed to drive them. Flesh and more flesh. The time turned elastic once more and spun out of control for some unknown length. I only know that when I came back to myself, the sun had moved across the sky. My thoughts were about darkness, zombies, staying alive. When I think back on it now, I realize a noise had brought me back. Had to be, otherwise there was no reason for me to come back at all, just stay gone. Let the sun go down, and the UN dead take the night, me, Cammie, Madison, and whatever else they wanted. But it didn't go that way. A noise, a sliding foot, a pebble falling from above. I really don't know. I know that this time I reacted fast. My rifle came up, my mind was clear. I focused to two of them dropping from the cliffs above, like cats, like dead stinking feral cats, dragging that stink of death with them. The stench of rotted flesh falling from the sky, enveloping me even as I fired into them. I had a choice. I couldn't get them both. One falling at me, one falling at Cammie where she sat with Madison cradled in her arms, oblivious to everything around her. My reaction chose for me. The rifle came straight up and spat short little barks of noise and flame. The zombie started to come apart before it hit me. A shower of cold dead blood rained down on me, splattered against my face. The body hit the barrel of the rifle and took me down to the ground, clutching the rifle hard to keep from losing it as the full weight of the zombie came down on it. I kept it, but only by sheer determination. The zombie had impaled herself onto the barrel. Her flesh so rotted that it had simply punched through her breast and out her back. I shoved her off as quickly as I could, one booted foot kicking against her chest, knocking her apart, pulling the barrel back through the soft flesh and hard bone. I expected to see Cammie done for. I expected to see her dead or dying, but she had somehow ended up about 20 feet from where the zombie had fallen. She looked herself, as if she had no real idea how that had happened, but when I raised my eyes and they took in the whole scene before them, I saw exactly how it had happened. Madison must have still been awake. Laying there badly injured but not gone, taking the comfort from Cammie that she offered. When the zombie fell, she saw it. She saw it, and managed to push Cammie away from her and take the attack on herself. The zombie was no match for her, wounded though she was. She straddled the zombie with a rock easily the size of her own head and brought it down hard, once. Twice, and then I lost count and the zombie quit fighting. The undead, dead again. This time for good. The silence came back hard. Like a curtain on the last act of a play, just when the audience isn't expecting it. It crashed down. Time did its elastic trick, and then snapped back before I was ready for it. My senses were shot. At first, I could not connect the dots of memory that I needed to connect to make sense of what my eyes were seeing. Cammie rose to shaky legs and started toward Madison, sobbing once more. Madison's eyes swiveled to me. A sick look in them, and pain riding there too. She slumped forward, one wrist flapping uselessly, and lunged for the rifle that Cammie had trained on me not so long ago. Time stopped its elastic trickery right around that time. I knew exactly what she intended to do before she did it. Cammie stopped in mid-stride and nearly fell backwards at the effort of stopping so quickly. I think she believed for a second that Madison intended to shoot her. I really believe she thought that. But that was not the plan, and I knew that was not the plan. Because the plan that had resurfaced in her mind was the one we had talked about, half seriously, half jokingly, for as long as we had been traveling together. Before she followed through on that plan, I heard her tell it to me in my mind once again, the way she had a week or so before, when she had been unmolested, whole, not about to join the ranks of the UN dead herself. "If I ever fucking have to, I won't hesitate," Madison had said. "Once I'm dead, I don't want to come back." She shuddered and grimaced at the same time. We had been in an old house over in Harlem. That was before Harlem got crazy too. We'd had gas lanterns for light. The windows were boarded over. The UN dead scratched and cried and pleaded, but they could not get in. The four of us, John had still been alive then, in fact he had died just 2 days later, fell through a rotted section of floor in that same old house. Impaled himself on a pipe in the basement. Madison had shot him in the head nearly as soon as he had stopped his struggles. Cammy had bent double and vomited. I had held it in, but barely, but that night John had been alive, he had still been with us. With us as we listened to the sounds of the UN dead that were trying to get to us. To kill us. To eat us. To satisfy their ceaseless hunger. In the flickering light from the gas lanterns, she had said it, and he had nodded his head, agreeing immediately with what she had said. And I had not. It had not been a real thing to me, despite what I had already gone through on my own, until 2 days later when John had died and she had wasted no time. None. He would have expected it, she had said, and nothing more. But that night she had said it straight out like a mantra, like looking into the future and seeing this day. "If they come for me, if they get me, I'll put a bullet in my own head. I will. I swear I will. If I ever fucking have to, I won't hesitate," Madison had said. "Once I'm dead, I don't want to come back." And Cammy had begun to cry. "Don't say it, Maddie. Don't say it." And she hadn't said it again, but it didn't matter. She had already spoke it into truth. I had heard it. I had heard it, and I knew she meant it. And now time stopped its trick. She jammed the rifle under her chin and squeezed the trigger. Her head exploded in a spray of red and gray. I swear I could hear the sounds of small bits of bone and drops of blood pattering down to the ground. And then the silence was roaring again. I took a breath, another. And then Cammy began to scream once more.